Hi, my name is Dan Zeilinger, and I have been a world-traveling full-time trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of my most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials across the world. I've met many people during my career and have spent many hours on stage and off with these musicians, talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on the weekends with friends. I think they all have stories worthy of a movie script, and through these interviews, I'll be sharing them with you. Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger with Trad Jazz Today. My next guest is somebody that I've done some really interesting time with in all kinds of different venues. He's an excellent banjo player. He's a comedian extraordinaire. He's a health expert. And I need all three of those things right now in my life. But particularly
Dan,
a banjo player.
Too expensive. I'm way too expensive for you now.
I know. Well, heck, you were expensive when you were Quincy Jones's personal trainer.
Yes, I was, but luckily Quincy had a lot of money, and but then again, he had a lot of kids, so that takes away a lot of money.
So let's start at the beginning, sir, with our interview. I believe you're a Texan.
Originally a Texan from Houston, Texas. Absolutely.
Now that's Houston, not Houston, right? Because Tom likes to pronounce it Houston.
Tom. Who's Tom?
Liston.
Oh, Tom Liston. That's because Tom has a lisp. His name is Histon, but he's Liston. He can't speak right, so he says Houston. It's like this mumble mouth. Yeah. It's from playing the tuba, man. Tom does play the tuba, and that can distort your jawline and your tongue line and all that. That's why he doesn't sing much. He opens his mouth, it just sounds like, oh.
I always wondered why he didn't sing much. I never connected it with his tuba playing.
Yeah, I connected it with having a terrible voice.
Okay, so that takes us to, when did you decide that you liked music? I mean, I doubt if you were doing stand-up in 6th grade, but.
Yeah, well, I'm still always doing stand-up, but I figured the greatest thing about music is if your comedy isn't working, you can always start tap dancing and singing, and people will forgive songs far more than they will a joke. A joke is either funny or it's not funny. It falls on its face. But if you're singing a song and really putting on that show business thing, you can make a horrible song, still get people to applaud.
Yeah,
they won't laugh, but
it's true. It's true. But how old were you when you started banjo?
Well, I started off on the cello when I was about 5 years old. So I played cello, and then from that I went to bass. And then from that, I went to bluegrass banjo because my dad.
So your parents are musical.
Well, they liked music. They didn't play anything. My mom had a piano in the house, and all she knew how to play was Born Free. So she taught my little brother how to play Born Free when he was like 5 years old, and that's all he ever learned. So every time a neighbor would come over to the house, he'd run to the piano and start playing Born Free. I got so sick of that Dr. Zhivago thing. So my dad, when I turned 16, it's time to get a guitar, man, and become a hippie and all that jazz. And so he knew that was coming, so he beat me to the punch. He went down and bought a banjo and gave it to me because he loves trad, jazz, swing, all that kind of stuff. But he bought me about a $35 Roy Smeck plastic banjo, 5-string. So I took it and I said, great, Dad, thanks. I'll go see what I can do with it. I learned. I started taking my lessons and all that jazz. And then I sat him down like about 3 months later and I played Cripple Creek to him. And he just looked at me with his mouth open and he said, that's great, man. Now play Swanee River. And I said, Dad, this is a bluegrass banjo. We don't play Swanee River on that. We play Huckleberry Hill and all that jazz. And he just looked like he was going to cry because the one kind of music he hates worse than rock and roll was hillbilly music. So luckily, when I went to college, I was going to college.
Wait a minute. I don't want to blow past high school here. Were you in the theater department at Woodbury?
Yeah, I did theater and musicals and all that crazy stuff, and that was fun.
But you weren't in the band. You weren't part of that
I was still I was actually I was playing cello in the orchestras for the music, and then my senior year I started acting. and doing musicals and things like that. And that was great fun.
What
But I
was
was still,
wait a minute, wait a minute. What was your first musical role?
I was in kindergarten actually, and we did the Mikado. Can you imagine doing the Mikado, Gilbert and Sullivan, when you're like 5 or 6 years old?
No.
So I was the lead in Mikado, but my mom wanted me to be Joel Grey. You know, she'd look at me and she'd go, you know, I love you, Andre, but can you be more like Joel Grey? Mom, I'm getting into bodybuilding. What do you think about that? I like that, but I really like a swimmer's body. Okay, there was just no pleasing my mother. I couldn't do anything right for her.
So did you learn the entire song book for Cabaret?
I did. I learned cabaret. I learned everything that my mother hated. Oh, it was great.
No, I just figured if she's a Joel Grey fan, there we go.
Oh, yes. A cabaret, yes. I love that. Matter of fact, I just saw, when I was in Germany, I saw, it was the most spookiest thing I saw, cabaret being performed in a German theater with English, of course, but I'm looking around while they're doing the Nazi part of it, and these Germans, are just watching this, and nobody tried to kill me. Nobody said, "There's a Jew over there, get the Jew." It was great. They applauded, they loved it. And
but did they stand up during Tomorrow Belongs to Me?
Tomorrow, yes. They did.
Powerful stuff.
Yes, they're reminiscent. They love the old stuff.
Well, don't forget, my last name is Zeilinga. So.
Jawohl, Tekamidan. Weren't you on Hogan's Heroes?
No, I know nothing. So
nothing. Yes,
so back to your banjo. We got through high school, and you went choir, did some musicals.
Yeah, I did all that kind of wacky stuff, man. Anything to not get beat up in high school.
Yeah? You ever try to walk up to a beach party or a gathering of your friends with a banjo on?
Yeah, well, that's guaranteed to get beat up, and they'll break your banjo. So I knew not to do that. The only way you could do it in the early days of playing banjo, you must surround yourself by other banjo players. You must hide inside the herd and not let the wind pick you off.
You used to go down to the banjo club, right?
Yes, I saw the Bio Banjo Band in Houston, Texas play on a stage with 45 banjo players, all with little green vests and dickies, and they were an Irish tenor up there. I'd never heard of, 88 to 80, playing like Swanee River and all that jazz, and what a sound that was. I thought, this is what I want to do, and I gave up the bluegrass banjo, and I luckily that year I went to college, and I walked into every music room I could find in every music store in Austin, Texas, looking for a book on how to play this kind of banjo. And I remember one of the guys said, "Man, look, there's no books on this stuff. Well, nobody plays this stuff. But there's a crazy guy who's left his card in every music store in town." His name, and he gave me the card. It was Dr. Johnny Huntsberger, who was a professor at the University of Texas, but he's like the Johnny Appleseed of banjo people. He would start banjo bands from Corvallis, Oregon, all the way down. He was Brad Ross' first teacher.
Yeah.
And he started the Austin Banjo Band, and I played with Johnny. I called him up, and he said, "Yeah, come out to my house." Gave me a banjo and sat me down, started teaching me for free. And for 4 years, I played with Johnny and the band. And then I'd come home in the summer and play with the Houston Bio Banjo Band, and then play with the Austin Band. And it was so fun and so electric and so banjo crazy.
Yeah, I imagine. I knew much too much about banjos for a tuba player. It's warped my brain forever. What can I say? Now, what happened when you walked into the university with a banjo on?
Well, I used to play on the drag with another banjo player, and we'd play there, and people would just walk by and not pay any attention to us, no matter how loud or how perhaps good we sounded, until I went to a shaky pizza bar, and they used to have these mechanical monkeys with striped little suits on that were about this big, right? And they had cymbals, and you would turn the thing on and go, ah! And when you hit them on the head, they go, ah, ah, and then. So I said, let me bring that out there. We put it on the drag, and I would turn him on, and he'd start banging, keeping time, like this, and people would come like flies, like bees on honey. We'd be and then at the end of the song, I'd hit the monkey on the head, and he'd scream, and people would start applauding, and then they would split. So it's good for like one or two songs, but it's a real eye catcher, and I've been looking for those monkeys ever since.
I was saying you got to try that with a real monkey and see what happens. But
Yeah, I did. But I've got a permanent rabies and tetanus shot from that.
Well, you know, I know the exact monkey you're talking about because it made an appearance in Close Encounters.
Yes, it did. That's the monkey. Yes. They're great. And they used to sell them all over at every pizza parlor. But like, I can't find them anymore. I guess I should look on eBay and start that kind of busking banjo gig again.
You can do that as a banjo player. When you go out as a solo tuba player, it's not quite so easy.
No, but you know what you could do? I'm telling you, I've seen guys now. You could take your tuba and go out there, and you can get all these track tapes, all done, and all the other instruments are there. But you're there doing the tuba, and then there's great places where you just do these tuba solos, and then it would come back in with a band. People would love it. Who wouldn't want to see a solo tuba player? And you actually get to see the tuba player and hear him all by yourself. I'm telling you, it's a great gig.
Actually, there's a tuba player in France named Gary Kaiser, who's actually a guy from Sacramento originally.
Wow. Okay.
But he moved to France with a French girl he met. You know how that goes.
Well,
And he actually busked as a solo tuba player through Germany and Switzerland, and that's great. You got to be brave to do that.
Well, you do, but if you're just going to play solos, but if you've got a nice track underneath you, I'm telling you, people will. That's the monkey, the track, the entertainment, and all the music around you, and then you step out and you do your little thing, and then back. People would absolutely love it. And that technology is available now. It wasn't available when I started playing.
Hey, I got an idea. You could be my agent. I'll
be your agent. I'll book you. We'll come to this German town called Frankfurt, and we'll play in front of this hotel. People would love it. Do some oompa stuff, and I'll bring in a banjo, and we'll tap dance, man.
So did you continue with theater through college and stuff?
I did for 1 year, and I was a drama major, and I actually met my wife, who was a dance major there. And but the problem was,
I didn't realize Beaumont was a dance major. Okay.
Yeah, she was a dance major. She didn't believe in anything else but dance. She thought it was the ultimate art form. And I would sit there and say, "Don't you understand? There's so much more. There's comedy. There's opening your mouth and singing.
There's banjo.
There's banjo." But here's what I love most about my wife. She will not come and hear me play. It is. I just love that. It's like my man cave. A banjo's like an automatic man cave. You pull it out, women run, and then you can play all by yourself or with your buddies. So it's a great way. Yeah. You
are too naturally funny to be a comedian. All the comedians I know are not funny people.
No, well, most of the comics that I know, I love them all to death, but we are a depressive tribe. And that's why we do comedy, because we're not particularly good looking. We're not particularly smart for the most part. We're not particularly strong or anything else like that. But what we find the one niche that we can do, and that is to make people laugh. And the minute you make a person laugh, you go, that's the route I'm going.
But you are improvisationally funny, and that's rare in that field. People like to craft a perfect 6 minutes or 7 minutes and do the same six. I've known you long enough to know that you're completely spontaneous and very funny that way.
Yeah, I did some of that, but that's always what shied me away from doing stand-up was I didn't want to get bored. And so luckily I found a way to put improvisation in my stand-up. And so I put at least two or three. When I worked with Quincy, and Quincy said, when he did I think it was maybe 1996 or something, when he did the Oscars, Whoopi Goldberg did it. It was the most beautiful Oscars I'd ever seen. And after that I said, how did you make this? How did you produce this to make it so wonderful and heart-touching and all that? And I remember he said, I gather the best people I can get. We do the best show we can get. And then I leave a little room for God to walk through. And I went, that's it. And that's what he did in his show. And that's what I try to do when I'm doing stand-up. I leave 2 or 3 spaces where I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just make it up and wing it and see what happens. And that's where the magic is. The other stuff is, it's like eating a salad before a beautiful meal or dessert. You get through it, but the dessert's there. That's what improvisation is.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, it's just sweet.
Yeah. Do you know Katie Cavera? Have you met her yet?
Yeah, love Katie Cavera. I met her when she was first started. She came to me. A friend of ours brought her to me to teach her banjo, and I was like, I'm not qualified. Let me turn you on to John Reynolds. And John taught her for a little bit, I think, and she has become a dynamite, on her own, bass, guitar, banjo. She's just become the queen of trad music. It's great to see.
Yeah, on her and my interview, we decided that I'm basically Tourette's, except it manifests itself in comedy.
There you go. That's it.
but I can't control it, and I don't know when I'm going to perform.
Yeah, but don't try to control it, Dan. Just let it out, baby. Let it out. Let it control you.
So
That's the
what
magic.
got you guys to California?
Well, we'd moved up to Chicago and lived there for 2 years. My wife and I writing 2-person shows, and kind of Saturday Night Live type stuff. And then at the end of 2 years, we did 6 shows in 2 years. We said, man, now what? It's either New York or L.A. And so we chose L.A. Came down and boom.
Did you guys ever go for the Groundlings or anything? One of those things?
My wife was the first outside director of the Groundlings. They were looking for someone who wasn't a Groundling to direct their shows, and my wife talked to them because I had a friend at the Groundlings, and they hired her for 1 year, and she was the first outside director for the Groundlings.
Who were some of the people she had to manage?
John Paragon was there. God, it's been so long. I don't remember any of these people, but they did a terrific show. She loved it. And then she immediately, after 1 year of that, she said, okay, now I'm done with sketch shows. I'm going into stand-up because I want to do things all by myself and let me be the thing, sitting behind the stool of the camera as it is. Then she could take 1 year of that. And then it had to be the Beaumont Bacon show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's made quite a name for herself.
Yeah, she's on the right up when you go in the front door, the biggest door in the Comedy Store to the main room. Her name's right up there. She traveled all over the country, so Beaumont Bacon and all that. She's done great, and so that's another reason why we're getting ready to move out to Dallas, Texas. We're talking Texas. Texas is open for comedy right now. We're following the footsteps of Joe Rogan moving out here because, man, the Comedy Store's been closed since February.
I know, yeah.
And we don't know how long it's going to be shut down. And if you want to perform, you got to get out of California.
You guys just did a duo thing, right? At the Ice House?
We used to, but we did it. We actually did a show called The Best Show in Town. And it was, my Dixieland swing band played in the beginning of it and all that kind of jazz.
I never got called.
When I did, huh?
I said, I never got called for that.
Well, that was before I knew you. I didn't know any bass player. This was the first year we got to town. All I knew was a piano player, and Hank Amigo was playing the trumpet, and we had this drummer David, and that was the band. Oh, I think at the time Bill Hadnot was our bass player. Bill was playing because we played some gigs with Bill, so I hired Bill to play, and we did a couple of shows every weekend out there. Yeah, he was a great guy. I love Bill. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd have called you.
So then you took some lessons out here.
Well, I was always taking lessons, but then what I wanted to do was take lessons from Brad Roth. Johnny had introduced me to him 35 years ago, and Johnny knew. I would listen to Brad since I was, a baby playing banjo, and I've never wanted to be anything more than a clone of Brad Roth. I would give up pretty much any one of my relatives. Most of them. I give them all up if I could just play like Brad. And here's the sad thing. The saddest thing I ever heard about banjo playing was I had a friend of mine, the same friend who introduced my wife to the Groundlings, and she said, I was down at Dixieland, Disneyland, and I was listening to this little group, and they're banjo playing in the group, and this guy sounded just like you, and it was Brad. And all I could think of was, that's a beautiful compliment, but I'm a fly in the world of banjo, and Brad is a god. And I thought, but to this average woman, she thinks I sound just like Brad.
Yeah. How much money did you borrow from her?
Oh, as much as I could get, Dan. You know that. I'm just a mooch. I mooch my banjo style off of Brad, and
I don't know. As much as I played with you, I really never thought of you as a Peabody School guy.
That's because I didn't play worth a shit, Dan. I was a guy you couldn't even recognize that I was trying. That's how bad a banjo player was. I was trying to play Peabody. I was trying to play like Brad, and you didn't even notice it. That's my career. Good night, folks.
Da 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 da. Where's Art Matrano when you need him?
Yeah. Yeah. But now look, man, I'm finally taking lessons from Brad. I've already had 6 lessons with Brad Roth. I go to his house once a week, and he gives me these beautiful lessons, everything that I should have learned 40 years ago. I feel like a toddler, but he's taking me through the whole steps of how he learned how to play a banjo. It's so eye-opening. Things that I would sit next to Johnny Huntsberg or other banjo players trying to figure this stuff out that Brad was doing, and Brad's showing me, and then I'm going, oh, I get it. I get
so
it.
you can go pocket to pocket to pocket you now?
Yes, that's the first stroke I came to him with. And Brad would say, you've got to sing it when you cannot think it. You have to sing it while you're playing it. You got to get that good, so you're just singing it. So he's singing everything when he's playing. That's real jazz, and that's what I'm starting to learn how to do, half a century later.
Yeah, well, when I was playing with him all the time,
Yep.
he would just constantly verbalize when he was playing. It was always, like guys like Oscar Peterson and those kind of jazz players. In fact, there was a story about a recording session he did with a bunch of people like that all manifested their playing when they're and like the engineers couldn't get a level because there's so much grunting going on in the room.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That would be, if they should just do grunting, man, a jazz album of just everybody not even touching their instruments, just grunting.
Well, Clark Terry kind of did that almost, sort of.
There you go.
With mumbles,
Yeah, mumbles.
It's so good to see you, man.
It's good to see you, man.
Our hangs at the LA County Fair. Remember that lady who came up and started checking our fingernails to see?
What?
There was a lady who was checking to see whether or not we were vegans or meat eaters, and she'd come.
Oh yes, and I got into some talk with her about veganism, didn't I?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't even. The problem, Dan. Because I live in a world of the now with, improvisation and stuff, I don't remember much of anything that happened, more than like 3 days ago. Well, people will remind me of gigs and I'm like, what? Did we do that? Did we play there?
I've got some gigs you'll remember. But I remember you surviving on like 2 sweet potatoes a day when we were out at the fair.
Yeah,
those steamed yams.
Yes. I should have gone for was I not going for the turkey legs?
No.
Those were so great. I don't know what, back then I had such weird diets all the time. I was trying to get every crazy diet down the pike, trying to figure out what was best. And then I realized what really works is just eating less of whatever the kind of food that you like, just less of it. That's really
the old moderation thing, right?
Well, everything in moderation except moderation.
Well, I agree.
Yeah. You got to blow it out sometimes, Dan.
But you can't have too much of a good thing all the time.
No, it ain't got to, of course. Yeah. I had too much of a good thing.
Oh, I think we all did at that age.
Yes, we did. But at that age, you can afford to do it and you'll live through it for the most part. I've known a lot of comics that have died young, man. They didn't get through, but Dixieland players, they go on forever.
Yeah, it's interesting. And just to be slightly serious for a second, I really realized what it was like when I was on the road playing jazz all the time. The hotel room syndrome, where you get off the stage, the audience with thousands of people going crazy, and then you get alone in your hotel room. And I understood what was happening to all these stars that are falling away of the bottle of drugs and stuff. That shift in energy is just devastating sometimes.
Yeah, you're on stage doing your set, you get such an adrenaline rush, and then you get off stage, and all you can think of is how do I recapture that? And I remember hearing Robin Williams talk about one time, he said the best thing about the Comedy Store, where my life, they had 3 rooms in the same club. You play the main room, the belly room, and the OR. And you play these, you do a set here for a half hour, here it's 15 minutes, over here it's 25 minutes. And you could get back up on stage, whereas most clubs in LA and places, you can do one set and you're done.
Right, and you wait for 7 hours to get that.
Yeah, and then now what are you going to do? You can't go to sleep because you're wired. Well, the only thing you do is you grab some Coke, and that's what they all did to get back to that same feeling place. Just like I listened to David Lee Roth talk, and David Lee Roth, the lead singer of Van Halen, here he is playing in front of 20, 30,000 people at a time for decades, right? And then when he finally left Van Halen, he became a paramedic, cut his hair. He's on an ambulance right now in Los Angeles, because that's the only place he can get that adrenaline rush is a life or death situation, like when he was on stage. So he's got hundreds of millions of dollars, but you may be pulled out of a burning car by David Lee Roth.
Yeah, it's that adrenaline rush. Wow.
And that's what drugs do for you, get you back to that feeling place. But they're deadly is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. But you, I mean, you of course know what I'm talking about, especially for comedians on the road. I
Hmm.
mean, there's no band to hang out with usually, and
No, and if you don't like the other comics, you're on your own in a city you don't know anybody at. And so, and you're staying in a little bitty place, and what are you going to do with your time? There's just too much time on your hands, you know? And so you drift into this drug or this, that, and the other. I mean, some comics are very healthy minded and they go to the gym, they work out, but that's very, very few.
yeah, they're the few people. I mean, like Leno. There's a guy who kept his head on straight all those years, and I just find that
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, but that's because to him, he's such a technician. Performing is number one. And if he wasn't performing, he was writing. Same thing with Seinfeld. These guys live to perform. They only did television to make a boatload of money. They would rather, you know, Leno on his day off, he's down at the Comedy Magic Club performing every chance he gets because that's where their real love is. That's the jazz to them, not doing the show. The show was money.
Yeah,
Just like when I hear a cool jazz player who sits in on a Dixieland gig to collect $100, you know, and then when he gets his solo and Saints go marching in, he's noodling all over the place, and it doesn't really fit, right? It doesn't fit trad jazz. It's like slow it down, pops. You know, do every fifth note and you'll be perfect. But they're noodling out that because they're selling their souls, you know, for that. They kind of whoring themselves out playing trad jazz. But when you hear a dude that just lives for trad jazz and he plays his solo, man, it takes you, he plays, it's like listening to the difference between Miles Davis and Louis, right? Miles, hell of a player, but I can't listen to him for more than 2 minutes. But Louis, I could listen to all day long. Just that swing, that mellow back and forth. And
well,
that's what trad is.
the other thing is it's a difference whether or not you're playing for yourself or playing for the audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with any entertainment endeavor, you
Yep.
know.
And Dixieland and trad jazz, you know, at its time, it was rock and roll. But the guys that were performing it like rock and roll stars. Man, they were, you know, Cab Calloway and early Louis Armstrong. They were jumping up and down like you know, like Viper
Yeah.
or Kiss. They were doing all kinds of stuff and performing. And that's when it's played like that. It is just as magical as the 20s, the 30s,
Yeah.
whatever.
One of the truisms I
Mm,
found was interesting is that they were interviewing Duke Ellington,
mm.
and they asked him how he got into music and why he ended up doing bands.
Yeah.
And you know, here's a guy who the community considers to be the great composer of American jazz,
Yeah.
and you know they put him up on these pedestals.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Get girls."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind
Right.
of that's kind of what you're talking about. You
Yeah.
know,
And you're not
the
going to get
energy,
girls sitting
the
there
rock
going,
and roll energy, and all that.
but if you are and hey, woo, ha, people love a show, and then you'll get a girl. I got a girl one time playing the banjo. Can you imagine that? Like we were on top of a bus in Mardi Gras, and nobody wanted to hear the Beatles. Nobody wanted to hear the Rolling Stones or any. They wanted the Saints over and over and over and over again. And we were dancing and playing. And I had a girl come up to me, like, you know, young girl come up to me, 25 years old, and say, you know, I love you and blah 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 blah. And I realized that night I was a rock star, baby,
Yeah.
rock star one night of my life. But you had to be on, or they're just not going to, you know. When it's played like that, trad jazz, Dixieland is as fun as rock and roll.
And I know you've watched a couple of the interviews. One of the things
Mm-hmm.
I constantly talk about is the fact
Yep.
that this style of music
Mm.
is more popular everywhere else in the world
Mm.
than it is in the
Yes.
United States. Wildly
Yes.
popular in Japan, wildly popular in Europe.
Yes.
You know, early American jazz is.
You know, but I also see I see a lot of it out in New York. There's a lot of young people playing, you know, and they look kind of, you know, but like the New Orleans style or Tuba Skinny or, you know, that group.
Right.
And some of those groups and a lot of people up in New York, man, there's some big bands up in New York and doing all this. It can swing. It can feel just like it's 1925 or 1936, you know, when it's done right. And it's kind of
going through a resurgence right now, actually. You know,
I love it.
With the advent of people like Rias Kohnberg and Tuba
Yes.
Skinny, and
Yes.
even thank goodness for like people like Bella Fleck who play five and Steve
Yep.
Martin. Banjo's
yeah.
getting respect again all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, you've got some monster players out there, and that was one of the things why I said, man, we got to get Brad Roth back out there on the road again because you respect that kind of playing. You know, when people hear applaud. They go, what did I just hear? You know, it's incredible to hear quality playing. So yeah, it's a fun thing to always be. And the great thing about it is, if you're young playing it, you're the kid, right? And if you're middle aged, you're not even old enough to be respected in the biz. You know,
No, you're
the
still the
older
kid.
you get, the more you fit the role of the player, man. So I love it. You don't age out of trad jazz like you do with rock and roll. That's pathetic to see old rock and rollers do stuff, and you just want to walk away. But when you see a dude who's 72 years old or 80 years old, but he's playing and they're blowing some beautiful music, you go, that's it.
Yeah,
That
I'm still
sounds
playing.
dynamite.
I'm still playing with guys who are in their 90s, and
Yes, yes,
the soul is still there. That
bingo.
kid's still there.
That's it. Yeah, it's a beautiful soul. So you're ageless, you know? It's like being in a time warp when you play this stuff. You don't get too old, which is
So you're
great.
getting serious about it again. Your banjo playing.
Yeah, I am. You know, I've been in India for 12 years, man. Spending the majority of my time back and forth through India, and there's no trad jazz out there.
Well, I'm sure. Actually, I'm sure there's some, but yeah.
And I haven't found them. And I've looked under every elephant that I
Well,
can find.
the reason I say that is because they have such a large instrument manufacturing basis there.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I know of course they have marching bands that they copied from the Brits when the Brits were over there for a long time.
Yeah, and they play at every holiday, every wedding. They'll have a marching band there playing. It's crazy over there. Full of music over there. But to find other players who love this stuff, you know, I've got the bug back again after being away from it for so long, and it's time to start doing comedy and music again. You know,
you made some friends in India. I see because I see that you've been over there a lot.
Yeah. I work for the fourth richest guy in the world, and I've been with his family for 12 years now. And but it was, you know, I made a decision. Okay, I'm going to go do this health thing for serious because people really need me, and it's a weird opportunity, you know. But I'm going to have to sort of put my banjo up on a back burner, and I'm going to have to put my comedy on a back burner. Luckily, they love comedy, so I do comedy all the time just to keep them entertained and everybody else in India. I do that, but I didn't have my banjo. But now that I've been working with Brad, I'm certainly bringing a banjo with me. Not one of my beautiful Voxes, I'll tell you that. But I've got a nice little banjo that I'm going to bring and keep it on.
Yeah, during my interview with Tom, he showed me the Vox that you sold him, or he sold you,
Yes,
I guess.
I sold
you
him
sold
that.
him. Was that a Brad banjo originally?
No. It was my first banjo. I got it at age 24. It sounded horrible, but I love Voxes. So Johnny and I sent it to Brad's father. He set it up. It sounded beautiful. And I had two axes, that one, and then I bought another one, I don't know, like about 30, couple of years ago. And I was playing in Chicago with my wife doing a two-person show. I was performing on stage. I'd play a couple of banjo numbers, and then she'd play the spoons, and then we do comedy and sketches and weird stuff. And I had a guitar there because I played a couple of guitar numbers. And then at the end of the show, one Saturday night, some friends of ours going to take us out to dinner who came to the show. We go out to the car. We put my stuff in his trunk, and we go drive down the main drag, park right in front of a beautiful restaurant, go in, half hour later, come out, both instruments are gone.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I walked around for a month. I couldn't believe it. And this banjo was my favorite banjo because it sounded just like Johnny Huntsberger's 3. So I was sick to my stomach. So anyway, the point is, long story short, I knew I was going to find that banjo. I asked every banjo player, look for it. They were looking for it at every banjo rally. Nobody found it for 25 years. I thought, how is it gone? It can't disappear. And then one day, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I'm looking at Tyler Jackson, the banjo player, and his music store. I see a banjo. It's a Vox hanging up on the wall that they just got for sale. And then I scroll in. Hey, it's got the same kind of peg head as mine did. And then I turned around, same kind of coloring. And I quickly called up, and I said, hey, could you look at the back of that banjo? Because Johnny Huntsberger repainted the back, and he put the initials JH underneath the star on the back of his Vox. And the girl said, yeah, there's something scrawled underneath the 2 initials. And I went, oh, my God. It's Johnny Huntsberger. And I called Tyler, and he said, yeah, I'll hold the banjo for you. I said, I don't care what you're going to do. I got to have that banjo back. Some polka banjo player had wound up. We put a button, bought it in a pawn shop for a couple $100 and played on it for 25 years. And then I guess the guy died or whatever, and it wound up back in the market. And then I found my banjo. And then the next year, Johnny Huntsberger died. And he willed me in his will his 3 that I love. That was the first banjo I ever played, and I loved that Vox. And so now I had my 4 that I loved and Johnny's 3. They sound identical. And so then Tom was looking for a Vox, and I said, well, I'll sell you mine because I've got two. I don't need three, you know. And so he bought it. He loves it. And now Brad is going to put skin heads on both of them. And yeah, it's going to be great. I'm finally, probably about 2 or 3 weeks before I actually die, I'm going to achieve the banjo sound I've always wanted. And then I'm just going to go, and be dead.
Well, you know what you're doing, of course, comes with, I hate to say this, but it comes with maturity. It comes with,
oh, I hate that.
and having some calm,
Yes.
You know, if there's anything I was curious about, because I do research on all my interviews, is your whole transcendental meditation vibe and the stuff you've been going through. I have to think it would give you a little bit different perspective on life and being.
Oh yes, it does. When you focus inward instead of outward, beautiful. And that's the whole thing that I learned with great players. You know, when you guys are playing, you're actually hearing what you're playing a little above everybody else. When I'm playing, I hear everybody else, and I can hardly hear me, right? And then I remember it's because I don't have a pick, and then I get a pick and I start playing louder. But it is that kind of thing where you can be so into what you're doing that you can make it flow out of you. I never knew how to do that. I knew how to do that in comedy and other things, but I couldn't do it in music. But naturally gifted players are guys that really work. And that's what Brad is teaching me, how to get to that point so that you can have this beautiful voice and play effortlessly. And then it's made Dixieland and swing and trad so much more fun again. I feel like I'm 22 years old and I'm just learning how to play the banjo again.
It makes it also so much more addicting.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm actually practicing every single day, you know, and I love it. And it was so humbling to pick up the banjo again and then actually go over to Brad's house and knowing how horrible I sound and then play in front of him. I think I puked a couple of times, not on the way there, but on Brad.
You're living in Glendale now, right?
No. I'm living actually in Chatsworth, California.
Oh, well, that's a bit even more of a drive.
Yeah, it's a drive, but you know, it's an hour and 15 minutes to Brad's house, and the whole way I'm listening to Brad play in the car, you know. And so I'm in banjo heaven.
Yeah, actually, he lives about 15 minutes from me. I live in Anaheim now, so.
Okay, you guys are around the corner. Hey, yeah, I'll come knock on your door when I have my next lesson. You know?
Well, or give me a call. We can catch some lunch somewhere.
I'll give you a call. I'll tell you that when I'm coming down to the area when my next lesson is, and it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be cool to see you too.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Okay, here's a gig I know that you probably remember it a lot, and that's the one we did at the Beverly Hills Tennis Club.
Oh yeah.
With the Aranda brothers.
Oh, the Aranda brothers. Yes.
And you were visiting the clientele from underneath the table.
Yes, of course. That was my calling card. Yes, I'm a shoe fetish person and a knee person. Yeah, anything to get under a table where women are eating is my calling. And so if you just do it with enough Harpo Marxism in you, it carries.
You can get away with it. Yeah.
Yes, you can get away. I understood that enough. So I got away with it. I don't know at my age now if I could I don't know if I could get down on the floor, but I could get down, but I can't get back up. So I would still do it, but it would be a little creepy if I did it now, unless the women are in their 90s, and then they're going to enjoy it.
In that case, you got to come to my Friday gig. But
who do you play for?
No, I play with a group called the Cherry Willow Jazz Band.
Yeah.
When the restaurant was open, we were there every Friday for years and years and years.
Ooh, really? Where?
Yeah, in Signal Hill.
Okay.
In Signal Hill, California, on the corner of Cherry and Willow, at a place called Curly's Cafe.
Oh, I'd love to see
and
that.
And it's just a Dixie band, and you would be more than welcome to come down. And I've got a young banjo player who's going to Fullerton College, and he's learning to play banjo.
Wow!
And in fact, his name's Zane Johnson, and I have an interview with him. He's really really serious about it. And Robbie Rhodes, who used to be the piano with South Frisco, he plays piano there all the time.
Oh, that's dynamite. Yeah, because I've got a daughter who's 18. My girls really haven't. They heard stuff when they were, you know, I've been gone back and forth for 12 years, but so they haven't heard me play in 12 years. They've kind of forgotten that. But I'd like to reintroduce them to the whole Dixieland swing. You know, this was part of my life. You know, and let them experience live music like that would be wonderful.
Well, when things open back up again, I will. you'll be more than welcome to come down and sit in. In fact, we're always looking for banjo players
Well, by that time, I
to play
will be
that
a
chair.
better banjo. I'll have enough banjo under me and enough Brad Roth lessons and a skinhead on my banjo.
I
And
haven't gotten Brad down there yet, although his mom's come down a couple of times to watch the band when she's in
oh,
town. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll drag Brad out, because I want to.
good luck.
Good luck.
But
No, Brad.
no,
I'm telling you, look, listen. Brad knew. Brad is really coming out now.
yeah,
I mean, I think he's coming back into the banjo world. I think he's ready. He's been away from it long enough, and he's now becoming alive with it again.
I'm so anxious to hear a solo album he's working on.
Yes. Well, they're working on a Banjo Mania album, right?
Yeah.
And have you gone to his YouTube channel? Because he put some solos up there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So, and he just.
In fact, I told him that
Mhm.
when I heard his new version of Sing Song Girl,
Yes.
that was one of the most musical versions of that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And with his age, like all of us, but he's become a lot more musical, and he stopped beating his banjo to death like Eddie.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie used to just beat the crap out of his banjo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could listen to Eddie really for 2 songs, but Brad I can listen to all day because Brad made a mental choice at some point in time in his life where he said, I'm no longer that. I'm no longer a clone of Eddie. I'm going to develop this, I'm studying jazz guitar and all this. And it created this real musical version of the banjo that I can listen to for days and not get tired of it because he's so musical in his banjo playing.
Right. And nuanced.
Eddie, it's so nuanced and it's exciting and it's surprising. That's the deal. He's surprising when he plays, where you get thrilled when he does something really interesting that you've not heard before. And with Eddie, you kind of knew where he was going every time, and he spun the banjo, and that's great. It's a great showman thing, but it's not so musical to me.
Well, and it was purely a solo endeavor. You never heard Eddie playing band comping.
No.
Or very seldom anyway.
Yeah, and so he just didn't have that. It's like watching a stand-up comic or an improvisational comic in a group. It's comedy, but it's a whole different, kettle of fish when you hear them do their thing.
And you have to interact and listen.
Yeah, the interaction is jazz, man. When I would do improv with great people, you're just standing there over here and you listen to what they say, and then when it's your time to say something funny and back. It's just that ebb and flow of jazz, which is so cool. Improvisation is just jazz comedy, and it's the same thing with what the kind of music that we play. Only it's not rushed. It's not rushed.
Well, I understand it, but the danger is the same too, and that is sometimes I'll get so enthralled with what's happening next to me.
Yes.
That I'll turn into an audience at the wrong time.
As long as you're not the audience that throws stuff.
You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, no, you're too busy listening to that cat's great solo, and then you got to do something, or you forget the beat or whatever. Yeah, I know.
And it's the same thing with sketch comedy. If you're not present in the situation, you're in trouble.
If you're too busy laughing at that guy's lines and he's really cracking you up, the whole scene is gone.
Yeah.
See, in the moment.
I was a theater major in high school, as you might be able to tell.
Yes.
And I left it for band, but so I went through. I actually taught improvisation at junior high level for a while and a few things. But then I found out I couldn't talk, so that really put a fork on all of it.
Well, listen, Dan. Then the next gig we play, baby, let's do some comedy. Let's just break out and do our thing.
I would love to. I would love to because I used to drive Doug nuts. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. Well, but let's say you got a couple of guys on the gig. Like I've never played with Doug. I don't know Doug. Doug's a dynamite player. I love all those people. But if we got a couple of guys who will just say, I'm a lead horn player, I'm a lead trombone, whatever. But now Dan and Andre are going to do their thing. They just sit back in the back and accomplish. Like those '80s, R&B band. When we hit a funny line. Like that or something, just give us some, suddenly we're like in a train and they like pumping out.
You just sparked an idea in my head, which is to do it against the blues. So like, remember the scene from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead? You show up on the blues stage.
Yeah.
And the band goes da 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 da. And someone says, we just thought that we could do that and trade off on that.
Yes. See, that would be so much fun to combine comedy improv with jazz improv, that'd be dynamite, man. It would swing. Let's do that.
Yeah, it'd be funny as hell.
Yeah, it'd be funny as hell. But it would be because we'd find a groove and it would be fun. And then the great thing about it is it makes trad jazz and all that kind of stuff. Like it's magic. It's just magic.
You know, a group that almost did that was very close. It was Palm Springs Yacht Club.
Yes, yeah, they were so
with
fun.
Westy and John
Yes.
and those guys, and because they would just throw stuff at each other, trying to get each other to laugh.
Yes, yeah, and they were dynamite musicians on top of that, so it just worked, and they had beautiful harmonies.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, oh, it worked. It was so good. I wish they'd have stayed together, man. They were a dynamite group. You know.
Oh, absolutely. But you know, the other problem is, and it's true of anything, when you get that many powerful personalities together, it's hard to keep it together.
I know. Tell it to the Beatles, man. You know.
Well, we won't give Yoko any credit for that, but you know.
Well, yes, but I think that's why John brought her. I think John wanted to leave the group anyway, but he knew that if he brought Yoko in, that would destroy.
I know, but the world lost her vocals anyway. Sorry, Yoko. Yoko, if you're watching this, it's only the
Yoko,
truth.
I love you. I love you to death. But why do you treat Sean so bad?
Oh God. So okay, you guys have it. I mean, obviously none of us are playing right now or doing clubs because they're all shut in our area.
Yeah.
But have you got some gigs lined up for the future?
No, because everything's shut. But my focus right now is to learn how to play the banjo again, steal as much of Brad as I possibly can while I'm here, like a vampire. I'm just going to lich into him, and I'm going to drink every ounce of everything I can get out of his magic.
Just listening, man.
Well, listening, yeah, and then listening, and then say, "What did you do?" And then actually having him say, "Oh, well, here's how you do that," and then he explains it. And it's like somebody putting on glasses on me, and I can see what it is. And now when I hear him play, I hear what he's actually doing, not some amorphous thing that I can't figure out. That's the view.
Yeah, one of the things Brad is really good at is constructing on the spot. You know, you give him a tune and he kind of orchestrates in his head.
Yeah.
As he's putting it together. That's the hard thing to learn. Learning the techniques and learning the pick techniques and the chord shapes is secondary to just being able to hear it in your own head.
Yes, and that's what he's teaching me. And here's what I love. I love my interview has been all about Brad Roth.
Well, you're the one who does it.
No, but it's just funny. I just realized that I spent half my time talking about Brad, but I'm so excited.
You want to talk about Lee Floyd instead? I don't care.
I love Lee Floyd, yes, but I've never played with Lee Floyd. But what I love is I love Lee's playing, and every once in a while I get to see a video of him. You know, when he was out in New Orleans and stuff. I love that. I'm actually close to the point where I get to meet all of these people that I've been watching for 40 years. I want to meet them all now, you know?
Well, you know, a guy who's really, really underrated is Tommy. It's Tom Liston. He's underrated. He's underrated as a banjo player, I think.
I thought he was a booker. Oh, he actually
or trombone player.
Oh. Yes. No, I know Tom is one of those guys I just hate from the moment I met him because he doesn't just play a banjo better than me, but he plays a guitar, which I don't even play. And he plays a tuba, and he plays a trombone, and he plays the steel drums. I mean, he can do everything.
He just told me not only has he taken up mandolin, but now he's playing he's playing mandocello.
Yes.
And something else.
I'm still working on the banjo 45 years later, and I'm back to being a beginner. And Tom can just, play anything. I hate those guys that pick up an instrument and 6 weeks into it, they already sound great. Oh God, my brain just doesn't work that way, man.
I'm telling you now. I want to make a gig with you and me on it for real. That's got to happen sometime in our future.
Yes, and then we get a couple of guys who really know comedy, like Tom, who know how to pull back and give us that support underneath, keeping the music going while we're doing our thing, and then we blend back in and play, and we can just ebb and flow like the tide. But these guys know where we're going, they know what we're doing, and they know it's time for a little comedy, and then pull it back into the music. That would be like an accordion. We could get an accordion player and a banjo. We could. So
wait a minute. In order to complete that, we got to get somebody on bagpipes.
Yes, and spoons, and somebody playing the bones.
Oh God! I was talking to somebody about. They were telling me how shivers go up their spine anytime anybody walks up to the stage with a washboard, and I said that doesn't bother me as much as when guys walk up to the stage with bones.
Bones, yeah,
or spoons.
Yes, that's actually spooky because I've heard them sound incredible, and they're dynamite and they're fun to play with. But you know that they sit at home by themselves, playing the bones for hours or the spoons. And it's like, there's something severely wrong with a human being who can spend more than 5 minutes doing that.
Yeah, and they're usually really, really skinny, which makes you realize that they don't know what spoons are for. But that's beside the point.
I played with a guy. I didn't know where. Thing is, you want to find out where they get the bones from, because I think this guy had some, like a trap door underneath his house.
He was buying from Dr. Kevorkian or something.
There you go. People would be missing, but he'd have bone sets.
Oh man, I've got
Jeffrey Dahmer band.
There you go. I've got to hang out. Well, you got to give him a hand for that one.
Yes, he's hungry. Yes, not just a finger for that boy.
Feed me, Seymour. Well, listen, sir.
Yes,
we gotta make this happen.
Yeah, it'd be ball, man.
It's been too long since I've hung out with you and laughed this hard.
Yes, huh? Wait, well, hold on. I didn't hear you laugh. I just heard you talk about Brad.
Oh, not me. He gets talked enough. He gets talked about enough.
Well, listen, for me, I've just been plugging Brad because I figure, well, now he'll give me a free lesson.
There you go. There you go.
Listen, man, it's great to see you.
There was a time when he didn't want to teach. He didn't like to teach.
Bingo. That was 35 years ago when I first met him with Johnny Huntsberger. And I said, Brad, can you teach me? And he went, I'm not into that, man. And he had long hair and all that kind of jazz. And I said, wow, okay. He said, and I was just heartbroken. But so I knew that condemned me to 30 years of walking in banjo hell playing, never being able to, because I'm not smart enough to figure that stuff out on my own, But now, listen, man, now I'm actually taking lessons, and he's showing me all the things I should have learned 45 years ago. I'm just loving it. So, yeah.
As long as you can play, if you knew Susie, I'm okay. It's good for me.
Do you know Susie?
No, not like you knew Susie.
What a girl. Yeah. So we're gonna have a good time, Dan.
I hope so. Let's try and get this world straightened out so we can have fun.
Yeah, have fun. And I want to come out and hear your band play, man, and see it swing and introduce my children to what life I used to be a part of.
Well, just to be accurate, it's not my band, but the band I played in for a while now.
That's good. That's good enough. My younger daughter does want to pick up the uke. One plays the uke.
Yeah.
And the second daughter actually wants to play a banjo uke. Is that scary?
That's very cool.
She has tiny hands.
Like I said, there's been a real resurgence. Of course, when that Hawaiian guy recorded Over the Rainbow.
Yeah. Israel.
Yeah, that really
so
kicked
great.
Ukulele into high gear with the kids.
It's in so many different musicals now and so many different songs. I love it. It's a beautiful sound. And so many kids are picking up stringed instruments again like that. And they understand, they're not just doing, an electric keyboard or anything. It's been great. So, yeah. So there's a future.
Yeah, exactly. And, I do a lot of these, those Sunday jazz clubs still on every so often I'll walk in. And there are a lot of kids on horns that are coming up and learning the style. And
did you ever get into electro swing?
No.
Brother, my 18-year-old daughter, actually when she was probably 14, maybe 16, she introduced me to electro swing. What they do is these kids take music from the 20s and the 30s, and then they kind of sample it, and then they put an underbeat, a stronger beat underneath it, more of a swingy beat underneath it, and the way music samples come in and out like in rap music, and they create whole new songs with these old songs. And then they dance to them like real 20s dancers. It's called electro swing. It was a major thing in Europe. It's still around.
I'll check it out. No, I am hip to postmodern jukebox.
Yes, I love postmodern jukebox. But
they're kind of doing the opposite thing.
Yeah, they're taking new songs, turning them old. But these people took old songs and they made them really swing and kind of updated them. I'll send it to you.
Oh, please do.
Some of the best stuff. And it was like, oh my God, you could actually take our music and then make it to where kids are just hooked on it with this electro swing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I have played a couple ballroom gigs in LA where the average age is like 20 to 35. And they're all dressing up in the roaring 20s stuff and have the cigarette holders and it's craziness, but it's good to see.
They want to have fun. They want to have sophisticated fun, which is cool.
All right, sir. Listen, I'm going to leave
Yeah.
us there.
Yep. Okay.
And man,
Great.
Andre,
Great.
you take care of yourself.
Yes, Dan.
And let's play a gig.
I'd love to play a gig, man, and a fun gig. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to insist that we're going to do comedy. We're not going to let those lead horn players boss us around.
There's not really a whole lot you can do to stop it. You know, as I've worked enough with Westy Westenhofer to.
Oh, we see they're great horn players like that are just crazy. Yeah, I know. That's the great thing about trad jazz. Good play. They know. Let's have a show. Let's just do a show, man, and then it's fun. Yeah.
All right, man. You take care and
you too.
Kiss everybody for me. Location of your choice, and I'll talk to you soon.
Germany. I'll be doing that in Germany.
Ach, mein Himmel.
I don't know what your Nebro is, but I'll kiss him.
Take care, sir.
All right, Dan.
Thank you for watching Trad Jazz Today. Dan shows new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure to check out the archive of past shows, and please give us a thumbs up when you subscribe to the channel. Bye.